Whiplash.
And welcome to the Glacially Musical Podcast. It is beer, metal. Wait a minute. It's welcome to the Glacially Musical Podcast and YouTube review. I've got too many words in my head. It is beer, metal, swearing. I, of course, am Nick Cameron of Glacially Musical, joined by my good friend and the man who always gives me cooking tips on what to do with my bones, Swedish Chef Chakas. How we doing today, buddy?
Bork. What's up?
Okay, that sounds great. I'm going to beer check. Trying to move this along. Oh, real quick. If you are new to the YouTube channel, thank you very much for tuning in. You are awesome. You are princes and queens of Maine and the pharaohs of southern Nambia. The way we do this here is we do a beer check, we do a vinyl check, we talk a little bit of news, then we get into the meat of the episode. If you don't want to hear the jibber jabber chitter chatter, skip forward about we're gonna go a little shorter this week because I suck, so skip forward about 15 minutes. But
I'm gonna try to timestamp these in the future.
My beer this week is a High Beam IPA made by the El Dorado Brewing Company in Kansas. It is a little splody.
Is that a word?
Yep. So my pour
Ooh,
is amateur hour.
Shite.
Yeah. And the thing is whenever I get a new beer for the podcast, I make sure I drink one before I do one so that way in case it's splody, I know.
Whenever Nick gets a new beer for the podcast, he skips through the parking lot, which shakes them up. He frolics through the park like Death Angel.
Hey, I like new beers.
I understand. How does that beer taste?
It is delicious. It's a little unfiltered. When it calms down a bit, I will give a good look at it. It's got a wonderful copper color, very bitter with a nice malt back to it. That's the kind of IPA I like, is the malt back. But we got short on time, so pitter patter, let's get at her. Got my pitter patter shirt on this week. Look at my shirt.
I see it. It's very cool. It's a very happy looking dog. You're clearly a cat person though.
This is from Letterkenny.
Okay, I have no idea.
Oh.
I've been watching Obi-Wan. I watched the brand new Miss Marvel. Phenomenal.
Also watched the Obi-Wan today. Obi-Wan episode 4. As you're listening to this or watching, you've probably seen all 6. But right now, I have a fan boner for Obi-Wan that is growing in size.
They're only up to 4 out of 6. They've only released the 4. So they did the first 2 in a row, and then 3, and then 4. I don't want to spoil anything, but it was phenomenal.
I'm not going to say anything more
Miss Marvel, also on Disney Plus, fantastic job. Very excited to see Miss Marvel.
I am just not watching the MCU television shows. I've decided, you know what? There's too many.
Okay,
fair enough. Too many. Which beer check?
You're missing out. I am drinking.
I know I am, and I accept that.
We can go through this very quickly. This is a beer I have had many times. Big Daddy IPA, brewed here in San Francisco. Speakeasy Ales and Lagers. Not that splody. Let's see if I got my glass. Let's see how the pour goes. Let's not fuck it up.
I got my St. Louis Cathedral Brewing glass, which I think is defunct. They only ever did bombers, though, which is an interesting kind of brewery.
Also, not that great a pour, but I'm a big fan of this beer. Cheers, my buddy. We drink this all the time at the bars here locally to my neighborhood.
Well, the next time I'm finally back out there again, I will make sure I get one of those. I'll buy you one, tell you what. Unless you end up here in St. Louis, because who knows? The world
I just started working for a new company that's based out of your town, so I'm bound to visit for you or them sooner or later.
Well, there you go. Everybody wins. I don't have a vinyl check. We Breaking Fourth Wall, we actually recorded yesterday when there is extra time. Try to pack in the episodes to make sure we are not robbing anyone of the content.
Speaking of breaking the fourth wall, Cameron is so tense that if you took a lump of coal and shoved it up his ass in 3 weeks, you would get a diamond.
Me?
That's Ferris Bueller. Anyway, vinyl check.
Oh, I'm sorry. I haven't watched Ferris Bueller in 25 years minimum.
So vinyl check. Here's a good story I already gave you off air. I went to go see one of my favorite bands in death metal ever, right around the corner from my house, my favorite kind of gig. Suffocation, along with Surreption, who have a brand new album out as we record this week, and a few other awesome bands. And I went to the merch table and they had vinyl. It's been weird. I haven't had a lot of vinyl at these shows I've been going to, surprisingly. And they had vinyl for all three bands. Surreption was selling their old album for $45, which seemed a little high for a single standard vinyl of
Little
a band.
high,
A good
little
band.
high, but at a show,
Yeah,
not
they
insane.
had to import it here or get it shipped. Maybe their label is here and sent it to them. I was sensitive to that. I wanted to support them. I bought something else from them. Atheist is also on this bill. They were the next to last band, and Atheist had two of their classics remastered on vinyl for 35 each on a color swirly vinyl. And I was like, I really
Depends.
want this.
It depends upon the quantity of, because if you do, I've seen runs as low as 50. And when you do runs as low as 50, 35, 40, 45 is a reasonable
I'm
price.
sure it was Atheist is still on a pretty good label. I'm sure it was like, out of 300 or something. But instead, I went over to Suffo's table and I didn't really like. They have some fun merch, but nothing really that grabbed me like a shirt or anything I wanted in my size that I felt comfortable buying. And then they had this guy, the new Suffocation live album on double vinyl.
Oh, I thought you didn't buy that.
Well, I did, and that was what I was saying. Should I have bought the Atheist instead? Now, just for
Oh,
openers, I don't love live. I like live albums. Sometimes they're awesome. Sometimes they're not. This is probably the last album ever with Frank the Tank
live
Mullins.
albums foreshadowing.
Yes, foreshadowing. So live album autographed by the band, I think including Frank. I have to double check, but I think it's actually autographed by Frank. And they come on two vinyls, and I think it's a color swirly. So it is a high value. It's got a beautiful. Let's do this. It's got a nice.
35 for a double. Is that what you said?
Yeah, this is 45 for an autographed double gatefold
Oh, yeah.
with the
Whenever they autograph them,
with the
it always,
limited edition.
yeah,
This guy.
it's not my bag, but it
This is
always
like
tends to add a couple of bucks to the whole situation.
yeah, probably. This is like coffee and black, right?
That looks like my Aeodon record, except better.
Yeah, so gorgeous, gorgeous design, beautiful inlay, and yeah, I bought it. I was like, I don't really actually have. I think I only have one Suffo on vinyl, which is the re-release of Peers from Within,
I don't have any. I need to get some.
and I definitely need a few others because from Long Island, I have seen them many times. Love this band, love, love, love,
Dig them.
and
Dig 'em.
second, at least first or second favorite death metal band, along with Nile, who is a band that would be a good band to do a run on.
Okay.
No, no, okay.
You know what? It's worth it for me to give them the college try a second time. And they didn't get a good try out of me, if I'm being
The
honest.
the only failing of that band, and I'll say no more, is they've had a hard time keeping a lineup together for more than a few albums in a row, and they've
Oh,
had
the Flotsam and
and
Jetsam situation.
20 albums and like 19 different lineups. But all right, no, it's inaccurate. But cheers! I filled up my beer. That's a lot better. Just so you get a better, beautiful look at that beer. I got a beer check. I got a vinyl check. Do you have any music news?
Oh, the big news is it has been reported on that Kiss is lip syncing now.
Officially, not just lip syncing though.
Yeah,
They are like borderline playing to tracks musically also.
yeah. It was the first time that anybody has reported on it. It came out this week. One of the shows in Belgium, the track malfunctioned and they missed. It was a very bad one. Those of us in the Kiss fandom have known for 2 years, 3 years that they've been lip syncing. But yeah, so I mean, I wouldn't care over much if it weren't for things like Gene Simmons on stage at award shows saying no tapes, don't use tapes. If somebody uses tapes, they need to put a warning on the ticket.
Yeah. These guys are 70 something years old. By the way, it was a singer who's also in his late 50s, right?
Yeah, no, he's
Who
older than that.
he might be 60. He's been around quite a long time.
He's been around 30. He's been playing for 40 years.
Yeah.
Like
So
seriously professionally for 40.
so he's the one who actually messed up when the tape messed up, and if the drummer loses the plot, everyone does. Um
Ashley Simpson looking at you.
you went right to the worst example of all time. Ended her career in music, air quotes.
And that was a TV show. It
And it
shouldn't
was
have been.
unfair. Like television's a whole different, like a live outdoor concert. Television's a whole different animal. You are
Right.
actually pre-recorded. That's on purpose. Just like the Super Bowl, television cannot be live music. It cannot be. If a live broadcast around anywhere in the world cannot be played
Anybody
live.
who's been to any club show ever and seen a guitar tech frantically trying to get a guitar to go out of a Marshall amplifier knows why that cannot happen.
I don't think Metallica has ever been on SNL. I have to double check. Metallica
They have.
mention. They
They
have
played The Memory
until.
Remains
Oh, okay. I was
with
gonna say either Until
Marianne
It Sleeps
Faithful.
or the memory remains. One of those two. All right, Metallica mentioned out of the way. Music news kind of out of the way. I don't really have anything. There's a couple of interesting stories. Cro-Mag suing each other. Um,
Always a good time.
Taylor Hawkins tribute concerts
Very
coming
cool.
to Los Angeles, and Wembley, obviously a nod to Queen. I have a feeling Queen is going to perform with Foo Fighters at the Wembley one as a tribute to Taylor, who
That
used
would
to
be very
cover,
cool.
very cool. And his wife made a statement for the first time since his passing. Not yet 2 months since his passing, and oh yeah, it's 2 months and change, and
Yeah.
just
It's
kind of heartbreak, thanking the fans, thanking the Foo Fighters band, thanking the world for sharing him, and just still very sad, but cool that we have some Foo Fighters at least to look forward to later
mhm.
in the year. They're going to do these concerts,
Well,
L.A. and
I
Wembley.
expected them to continue in some fashion. It's not like they need the money. It's not like they need the glory, but I figured that the love is still there, which is why
Well,
Dave's still doing it.
Grohl
And
doesn't have it. He's like, I'm not qualified to do anything else except music. And if you read his book, Be a Dad, in which he says, I'm not a dad, but you are, and you figure it out as you go. So, yeah, no.
last bit of music news, and then I will shut up and we can get into Fireball Ministry, the final
Mm,
episode. It's a
mm,
short run, three episode run,
mm.
which after some of the long slogs we've had recently, that's probably not a bad thing. But Kirk Hammett has been quoted recently saying Metallica told you that streaming was bad. We told you in 1999 that Napster was a bad thing, which has led to this. And I don't know how well known it is, but the owners of Spotify started off with a little site called Pirate Bay, which was an illegal downloading site. So,
And Daniel Ek worked for Napster, by the way. He was a
oh, he did.
programmer at
Okay,
Napster also before Pirate Bay. So, like, a lot of times bootlegging leads to better booze. Some music piracy doesn't help the bands, but it did lead to a revolution in the music world, in technology in the world. I will die on this hill. Lars was right. Not being a cop, not chasing your fans with lawsuits, that's horrible. I don't love that at all. I don't agree with that at all. I dislike that. But he was right 100%. This technology, this advancement, and the record labels all getting in bed and supplicating to this format damaged artists' ability to earn money forevermore. Like
it
it's never gonna come back.
correct. It's worth noting that there was more to it than just that. There was a
Yeah.
wonderful swirling nexus of things that ruined the music industry. The FCC Act of 1993, which Bill Clinton signed, and I still want to punch him in the crotch every time I think
There's
of this
many
this
things he
bill.
signed he should not have signed. But okay, go
Uh,
ahead.
there was the rise of video games. There was the rise of the re-rise of the blockbuster, and now with all the streaming platforms, American wages have been stagnant for 40 years. And when more people are rummaging through the change jar, there's less change to go around. And once it became all of that being said, it was going to take a bite out of the music, out of the very bloated, corrupt, and awful music industry of 1995, 1996. But it became so much easier to get a copy of something rather than your buddy buying it. And that caused problems. And here we are. But that's one of the reasons why I love the vinyl check, to show how we are supporting material support of music on a mostly weekly basis.
Right on. And we buy, again, we buy all these things either at stores from bands directly at shows, order by mail, Discogs,
Oh yeah.
this is Bandcamp.
For me,
I,
it's Bandcamp, it's Discogs, it's Amazon, it's local stores.
yeah.
My Possessed came from Planet Score Records yesterday, brand new copy, the indie record store edition. I go and I buy. I've got I don't know how many records on this shelf that I got at shows.
Right. My
I may get
special
it on the list, but I walk out giving them money. So
yeah, somehow my special lady friend that I've alluded to a few times asked me over text yesterday, would I buy anything ever again from Walmart for vinyl because they have an exclusive of a band she loves, and I said, buyer beware. That being said, I did get very successful and lucky with some of my purchases from Walmart, but as you know, I know no one wants to hear this shit again about my Senjutsu triple vinyl twice being damaged, once irreparably, once good enough to keep, but still damaged and pissed me off. So I was like,
you, yeah, it exactly. The world is buyer beware, and
mm,
that's why, if in terms of mail order anyway, mail order is a crapshoot to a point, especially with Amazon or Walmart or Target or, I have gotten. Although I did get one record shipped to me for a vinyl review from the band Formosa, they literally put a record in an envelope
hmm,
and it made it. The
like
the the
like a Manila envelope, like
Yeah,
with a clasp,
yeah,
and a tape over the
yeah.
fold.
It made it. There was some creases in the sleeve, but
Oh fuck!
the record made it. I'm
That
shocked.
would
I am
fucking
shocked beyond
freak
shocked.
me out, man. Did they not write
So
anything on it? Like, do not bend, nothing.
I don't remember. It was 5 years ago. But check out Formosa if you like high energy German American inspired rock. But
Will do, pal. Will do.
with all
Um,
that being said, I am ready to kick it large.
kick it, kick it.
Kick it, no, kick it live. Sorry. We're at the garden.
So you want the best, but they couldn't make it. Nick and Keith.
Ooh. All right.
Oh,
So
that would
this
be a really
week,
good intro for us, though. Come on.
you wanted
Um,
the best, you got the rest.
oh, no, hey, you wanted the best, but they couldn't make it. That's from Guns N' Roses' live album, by the way. You wanted the best, but they couldn't make it. So here's what you get: Guns N' Roses.
Or we could use the Ace Frehley rendition from his solo tour. You wanted them, here they are.
Oh, uh, Ace canceled his.
He got the COVID.
Got the Rona.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Everybody got the Rona at Creatures Fest. Like half of Creatures Fest got COVID.
Creatures Fest. It will not die.
I'm not talking about it. I'm not talking about
I
it.
know.
I'm here to
No,
talk about
I mean,
Fireball Ministry today.
Fireball Mystery last episode. We have banged through this discography quickly. It's not that many records. We'll do a little post-mortem on their last record up to now. At the end, I promise it will be like literally 3 minutes. Um, so we get through my favorite, which we talked
Great
about,
record.
the second Great Awakening from 2003, and then the follow-up record to that record, which was. I'm clicking through. I should know these things by heart, but I'm just slow and tired today. Sorry. Their Rock is not our rock. Very definitive title. Good record, better than I remember.
Yes,
Second,
not as good as.
not as good as Second Great Awakening. Surely their peak. A few things happen on.
Disagree.
Yeah, okay. A few things happen on their way to the next release, which is interesting. So on their way
Always
to.
happens.
So they're not. Their rock is not our rock in 2005, and James starts doing production. The band tours
Oh, I thought you were
extensively.
going to say cocaine.
I mean, probably, but I don't know. I don't know that personally.
I'm just
But
making jokes because I like Dr. Roxo. I
yeah,
like cocaine.
exactly. What's the line from Role Models? You know what I used to eat for breakfast? Cocaine. You know what I used to eat for lunch? Cocaine. Dinner? Cocaine.
I have never seen that. I need to see that. Actually.
Jane. What's her face? Jane. You are the weakest link. Um. Anywho, you need to see. Maybe we need to watch Role Models as a watch thing and put that on YouTube and do that. Do a reaction video to just the whole movie.
Okay, we could do one of those. It'd be ridiculous enough.
Yeah. Or I Love You Man, which I love
Or
tremendously.
Strange Fruit.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Strange. Still crazy. Still crazy.
Oh, Strange Fruit is a great song by Billie Holiday.
Yes.
So,
That's also the name of the band from Still Crazy.
right. So we talked about on the last record Their Rock Is Not Our Rock, about how the band changed out their rhythm section for the first time, and their drummer
Didn't
had
even
been there.
notice.
Well, yeah, I did. Their drummer had been there from the beginning. I mean, Yale is a great drummer. Johnny Chow is a very good bass player, great personality, especially live. And again, they continue to kind of get placements. In the '90s, it was the soundtrack. A lot,
Soundtrack, the video game, the stuff like
but
that.
like now it's video. Really, like the last 15 years, it's the video game or the TV show or the movie. But in the '90s, it was movies and soundtracks. And a lot of times, your song would be in the movie, but it wouldn't be in the soundtrack, and it wasn't a Shazam or a Spotify. The good music wasn't as available, so you had to really hunt down what it was, where it was.
Yeah,
But it
case in
did.
point, that band we can't stop mentioning, Metallica, was in the South Park soundtrack in the movie.
Little boy, you're going to hell.
However, was not on the soundtrack as they could not
Legally,
they could not get
which
clearance.
is kind of funny because I'm sure a lot of people downloaded that record as to spite them. And that's the best, one of the best tracks on that great musical album. I would
The
include
best.
that in my musical chaser when we do that. I would put the South Park movie in there. Um,
Weird.
so they start doing production for records and they tour more, so it takes longer and longer between albums. You're starting to see that. So they go a bit without, like 2005, and then the next record does not release the self-titled until 2010, but they had been writing it for a few years, and at that point Yale leaves to go do something else and they get their drummer back. Orishnik, I can't say this word, sorry John Orishnik, wherever you are. He's actually still in the band to this day, but he comes back in. And also at this time, James starts a side project with Jess Majera. We talked about Bam and Viva La Bam in the last
Mm-hmm.
episode, and the impact that Fireball Ministry got, the lift that they got from being not just in the show themselves, but their music being in the show. Well, then one more better for poor English, Jess Majera of CKY and Bam's brother starts a side project band at his house called the Company Band. You may not know this band, you may. They include James Rota from this band, Fireball Ministry, and a little old, probably unknown singer named Neil Fallon of Clutch. This is a pretty good side project. Brad Davis is in this band eventually. He also was in Fireball Ministry for a spell, and he ends up, well, he was in Caius. A lot of Caius people go through the a lot of Kai's people go through the Fireball Ministry crew. I just saw out of my peripheral vision into my screen a cat, like Nick cradling something. It surely can't be his daughter or wife. So who is that? Or who was that?
That is Princess Leia,
Okay then.
or as I call her, Boo Boo.
All right then. So, what is all the yada yadaing about? Fireball Ministry takes a little time to get going on the road. Johnny Chow starts to tour with Cavalera Conspiracy and ends up getting pinched to go to Stone Sour, to which he is in to this day.
Which is always the way.
I mean, you go get the money, man. People don't get paid. But Johnny Chow is on the 2010 Fireball Ministry self-titled record that we're going to talk about today, mostly. And I'm going to say that my memory of this wasn't as good as the record. This is actually a pretty damn good record. And
Uh,
I slept on it a little, but it's actually pretty solid. You know,
I I mean, I don't have a whole lot to say in terms of track by track on this one.
hmm.
I listened to it in several portions. I can describe it this way, and I'm sorry if it might sound a little cop outish, but one, I would say the vocals are a lot better.
Well, yeah,
The
that's there. Here's an observation for you. Tell me if you agree with this. On the Second Great Awakening, I praised on high James's vocals. On the last record, Their Rock Is Not Our Rock, he went back to a little more grittier, less clean vocals throughout the record. And now on this record, he seems to be back to the clean vocals again with a little bit of grit occasionally.
yes, it's like Ozzy with a bit of grit, and then there's that weird dance part of the record which I don't completely understand. It was so incongruous that I was wondering if I was listening to a YouTube commercial that I didn't skip.
Hmm.
Not bad by any stretch, but it just made for an odd portion of the record. But on this one, like the last couple albums, you discussed you went over the guitars and you gushed over the guitars, and I missed all of that. I don't know how we heard such very different things. That is not me bagging on anything. It is just me not hearing what you heard. On this record, everything you have said on the previous episodes about the guitar playing, the amazing solos, the riffs, the Sabbath worship. And then I'm going to throw in, there's also some amazing arpeggios as well. Some great arpeggio songs, a lot of strong power chordy stoner rock, but not the kind of like kind of stoner rock, like the
It's not like
clutchy,
Sleep or Yob. It's
right?
it's it's again Fireball Ministry. If I name check two other bands a lot in this series, it's going to be Corrosion of Conformity, Pepper Keenan Error,
Mm-hmm.
and Monster Magnet are very good
Yeah,
equal contemporaries. You could also say Clutch to a lesser extent. Clutch a
I
little more
would
musical.
say a mellower High on Fire.
Mm.
If you gave High on Fire a couple of more bong hits, they would get down to this level where they're not so angry.
Yeah, High on Fire is almost too metal for Fireball Ministry. It's way too heavy, but definitely the
Yeah.
right
Oh yeah.
vibe. The right vibe. And there's other bands, Sasquatch, Nebula. There are other bands, a little bit
Oh,
of psychedelic.
Cable.
Yeah,
There's some Galactic Cowboys in this band, I would say.
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
There's there's
not a.
some groove. There's a large element of the groove to it where it's not, they're not letting the chords ring, which is the hallmark, the trademark of what stoner and doom metal have become. So we are on, we're still on the vanguard of the revival of doom and stoner metal here, which is what's so amazing. There's also a lot of great solos this time around that really, I mean, that really classic kind of clean on the neck pickup sound, that, that ballady sound, and loved it. I loved this record top to bottom.
All right, I was not expecting that.
And it's available for, oh my God, Frodo just fell.
Did it land on his feet?
No. And now the cats are surrounding him.
Oh fuck! Do you need to take a minute?
Oh God, Frodo.
You all right?
Frodo!
You don't look too good, bro. Go. You want to take a minute? I'll pause.
No, no, I'm just gonna let Frodo be eaten by the spider.
What?
It just
Shelob?
stung.
I
It just
okay.
stung. Yeah, so I absolutely love this record, and it is available for $15.
It's begging you to buy it. There's not that many left.
Begging?
Um,
No, it is not begging. It is looking me in the face, grabbing me by the tie, and say, "What? What more do you need?"
the album cover was drawn by Kat Von D. If you like sketchy people who are good artists, and
Oh, but you know what? I like the dude that worked for her that ended up on Ink Master.
okay, my friend got a tattoo on Ink Master actually.
Really?
Yeah, she's a music publicist and occasional writer for Ghost Cult, and
Very cool.
she has the what's the Rolling Stones album with the cake? Let It Bleed.
Yay,
She
maybe.
she has that
I'm not a big
album
Stones.
tattooed on her. That
My I
image.
don't know who it was, but my wife got a tattoo, a kanji on her neck
Hmm.
from a very famous
On her neck.
on the back of her neck
Okay.
from a very famous artist in New York. She had to actually talk the artist into it.
Interesting.
The artist didn't want to do it. It's like, no, it's not enough. Not enough for my level.
All right then.
But
Let,
my wife is an attorney, so
mm,
good luck fighting that.
she's a good negotiator. Let's just quickly. We don't have to do the whole track by track, but I'm just gonna call out some good tracks. The opener is a good track. Hard lines, tight, really good, upbeat. For like, hey, we're back after 5 years. Raw. I love it.
The riffage and the tone. I mean, it's tone cannot be understated, especially when it comes to metal, because metal has three kinds of tone: shitty,
Mm,
5150,
mm.
that everyone is doing now. 5150 through a tube screamer. That is 98% of all metal right there. I'm sorry, it's true. You can be everyone else if you get those two things. Or three, wow, you did something cool.
Hmm. Good story. Three of
Sorry.
the other no, you're good. Three of the other best tracks on the album are Kickback, End of Story, and Fallen Believers. Fallen Believers probably the best track on here total. All three of those songs appeared in the first couple of seasons of Sons of Anarchy in like the biker gang at their hideout scenes. So
Very
like
cool.
really like on brand for the show and the band. Um,
Dude's
and,
getting messed up listening to tunes. Yeah, I could see that.
yeah, and in their own right is a very good closer. Butcher Faker Policymaker is trying to be cutesy. It's better music than lyrics.
That's
But
bad.
it's pretty bad. I know what they're going with that. No one's going to get that reference who listened to this band in 2010, just saying. But overall,
That's like me and my mispronunciations.
it's a, me too. It's a pretty damn good record.
It really is. I mean, this it's another. The only complaint I have about this one, aside from the danciness of the soft underbelly of side one,
mm,
it's a little samey,
I think you're talking about Followed by a Fall, which is squiffy.
but it's a little samey, but it's a good kind of samey.
Right. They also did kind of, I think everybody was kind of doing this at this point. They added, let's bring in an organ and keyboard player and mess around on a couple of tracks. And I think it works in spaces, but it's not something I want from this band.
You know, I love the Beastie Boys in an unnatural way, but the moment the Beastie Boys brought in the Hammond organ,
Mm,
which worked amazing on Check Your Head,
dude.
spectacular on Ill Communication. But there's a reason why they retired it in 1994, because the next thing you know is you're going to be living in the Hammond organ, watching those little speakers go round and round.
The whirly.
Yeah, the Leslie speakers. You're going to be watching those Leslie cabinets, which they did an amazing video of in the video for Gratitude. But you know what? It's such a great sound that it's like, man, you can't live there, but you're gonna want to.
Right on. And then just to kind of sum it up, because we can move right into that phase. Um, the band continues to grow. They get on some pretty good tours, but they start getting very busy, especially James becomes a very in-demand producer. A lot of times working at Studio 606 with Rasculettes, who produced their first couple of things. He becomes a go-to engineer and producer in his own right, and you can look him up on Discogs. So
The production on these records, it is beyond reproach.
yeah, who produced this was produced by the band and Andrew Alekel, who I don't doesn't ring a bell to me. Um, and I guess that at this point they're firmly in LA as a band, and they kind of fade for a while. They disappear for a little while, and I know Johnny ended up permanently in Stone Sour, and why wouldn't you be? They're on hiatus now, but they were one of the biggest bands in the world for a hot minute.
Not a fan, but yeah.
Yep. And they come back for some touring and a new album in 2017, Remember the Story, which features the first kind of acoustic jam by the band.
Don't need that. Sorry.
Huh?
I don't need that.
Yeah, I know. It's good. It's a good song, though.
I don't doubt it.
It's a pretty good record. You can check it out. It's also like $20 on Bandcamp. I don't know why.
Their Bandcamp pricing is so strange.
Yeah, Helen Storer comes back into the band for a tour. So Johnny leaves, and they go through a series of bassists, and they land on another Caius bassist after Brad Davis early in the days. Scott Reeder, not to be confused with the drummer of the same name, but Scott Reeder, the bassist you might know.
Oh, I thought you were going to say American Terrorist, Scott Rader.
No. Scott Reeder.
Sorry, that happened in Missouri.
Okay. Scott Reeder.
Reader.
You might know from Some Kind of Monster, audition for Metallica. He was from Caius and the Obsessed.
You know what? There's only one good thing about that movie, and it was the bass auditions.
I guess. I did
What?
watch that. I watched that section of that movie. That's it. He apparently also auditioned to be in Tool, and he got beat out by Justin Chancellor. Very surprising.
Ace Frehley's not current, but previous bass player, Chris Wise, tried out.
I love Chris Wise, yeah.
Twiggy Ramirez tried out.
Let's not talk about him.
Okay. I don't know what he did, but apparently it was bad. Moving on.
Pepper Keenan. If I let James's buddy come in the band, it's gonna create a power problem. For you. That guy can actually write awesome songs. You should have got that guy in. I know a guy who hates Robert Trujillo. Let's not talk about it right now. But anyway,
What?
yeah, he thinks he brings nothing to the band at all, and it was a mistake to get him.
Okay, what that dude needs to do is listen to Saint Anger and
No,
then
he hates
watch
it.
watch the DVD from Saint Anger.
Yeah, he hates it.
One of them is unlistenable and one of them is amazing.
He hates that guy. He thinks he can't do backup vocals.
He can't.
And
Okay, and that's actually a pretty fair complaint.
anywho, remember the story is the fifth and currently last, most recent Fireball Ministry album, and it is almost
Bring it back,
5 years old. So go check that out on your time, not our time. And I've appreciated that we did this run. If you just count the records we did listen to, 3 full lengths and an EP, you got a C, an a B plus, and a B. I mean, that's a pretty good run for 10 years
I'm gonna
of a
call.
band.
I'm gonna call the self-titled an A.
Okay then.
I am buying this on Friday. It's
Yeah, as soon as I figure out some things in July,
I'm gonna buy
probably
this
gonna buy
one and
all
then
these.
hopefully buy the Second Great Awakening in a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
that one is
they're running out of copies if you look carefully on their band.
I know they are. They're down to 34 as of this recording. However, it is still over $40 shipped. And
yeah, it's
a big number.
Not that big a number, but it's
bigger than I grew up poor.
All right then.
So I see these numbers and then I remember that time my wife said, "You paid $30 for this record." It was Faith No More.
No shit, that's what I remember.
But in fairness, it was Introduce Yourself, and that's worth $30 every day of the week.
That's fair. I don't have much more to add except that I'm really glad we did this series, and I appreciate you humoring my ministrations to make these things happen sometimes. And I really love this band, and more people should listen to them, but they just never got much like my King's X, my beloved King's X, they have diehard fans, but they don't get, there's a ceiling they can't punch through.
And you know what? I saw a conversation online today about Y&T being in that same vicinity. However, my issue with Y&T is mostly the songs they played rather than anything else.
I never thought they were that great, honestly.
I agree, but I mean, when you're looking at like 60-year-old dudes talking about hair metal and how X should have been a hit and Y should have been a hit and everybody's stupid, whatever. But there are a lot of great bands in this world and great artists that, and as I have mentioned many times, James Legg, Left Lane Cruiser, these are two artists to me that should be on Saturday Night Live, should be monumental hits, but I can also look at them logically and see why they're never going to rise past the small club level. There's just not a broad enough appeal. As for this band, I don't know why they're not as big as Clutch.
I mean, I know Clutch has gotten a certain level of popularity. They never stop touring. So that's the problem with this band. Inconsistent, like 5 years between a record and then 7 years between a record will kill your career, straight up. No matter how much, I mean, producing records, especially at a higher level of bands, because like I'm talking about, he's producing like pretty damn good bands. And I think he worked on a Foo Fighters record as a second to Nick. So that's a lot of money. As an engineer, you might cop 6 figures on that record. You might not punch 6 figures in 2 years of nonstop touring as this band. So
well, I mean,
what are you going to do?
What level of club are they playing? Are they playing 1,000 seaters? Are they playing 2,000 seaters? Let's assume
the 500 at max, the 500 bar.
Okay, let's call it 500, probably pulling in 350, and maybe that's being nice. So 350, if you're pulling in $20 a ticket, you're looking at $7,000 in tickets sold. So $7,000 is going to be your guarantee, because what the guarantee for the band is, the promoters don't make their money on tickets. They make their money on beer, especially in the clubs. So if you're pulling in 350 at $20, which is probably about the right number, you're looking at $7,000. If you play 3 shows a week, that's $21,000. Now you've got expenses, because this shit ain't free. The promoters are not buying your strings, they're not paying for your gas, and we might be being a bit romantic on the $7,000 figure. And then on top of that, are they doing a 200 date 3-year tour? Probably not. So you're
At
probably
one time, they
netting.
toured a lot, and they stopped playing out much. He was busy producing records. They didn't tour as much. They might. I'll be honest. If you've got like MTV residuals, I don't know how residuals work for TV. It might be pretty good money. Maybe they don't need the money. Maybe everybody that played on those records has some money. Johnny Chow, even though they're on hiatus and probably not coming back for a long time, Stone Sour had 4 or 5 platinum records in a row and a gold double record. So like he's not doing bad with money, unless he snorted it all. And then the
But
rest
if
of
you
those,
assume 7,000 a show, you're probably pocketing 1,500 for the band. Four
split
do
four
four
ways, and your
split four
crew.
ways. So now you're making $900 a week, which honestly, that's not a bad salary for your regular
No,
person.
for most people to do what they love, but
However, there's a lot of howevers there. You're not going to make that every year. You're not going to make that every week. I had heard tale that Glenn Benton of Deicide made $25,000 a year in Deicide. Album tour, $50,000, and he knew he couldn't do one every year, so he did one every other year. So that's probably, and that's Deicide. That is the second biggest death metal band of all time. In terms of
right.
albums sold, they're number 2.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I mean, if you think about that, that's why he was a mechanic when they weren't touring. Probably still is. Theoretically, a damn good one. I don't know. Get it? A damned good one.
A long time ago, here's the fun fact: I interviewed Zetro from Exodus, not in a long time, and my recent Exodus interview that you can see at Ghost Cult is with Jackie Gibson. Jack Gibson. Zetro is a union HVAC guy, and he's not only a union HVAC guy, he's a veteran foreman on big jobs, office buildings and homes, etc. So his whole strategy is when Exodus doesn't tour, he's in union work, overseeing huge job sites and stuff. So he's got health care, permanent salary, retirement money, all kinds of accident insurance, all kinds of things. And both his sons, who have the band Hatriot, Nick and Cody, and they have a new record coming out. Those guys are also in the same union, not quite at the same level as dear old Dan. So really smart though.
When I interviewed Snafu at Fubar years ago, the singer who had the worst dreadlocks I've ever seen, he was growing them. They were like halfway there. He was a white dude, so white dude dreadlocks when they're halfway there are not good. But the way he described it was he worked in customer service to pay the bills, and while they're on tour, they were able to transfer his calls to his cell phone.
That's smart.
So he is working a day job on tour. And Alexi Laiho had a day job, God rest him, RIP as it were. And that is one of the reasons why I think, and I think we're going to meander. We got a little bit of time to meander if you don't mind. Although let me just final thought on Fireball Ministry. Oh my God, thank you, amazing. This is a band I did not know, and I am glad to know.
You know, I care about you very deeply. You are a really hard person to read sometimes with your emotions. I definitely had the feeling you were not enjoying this run until you told me you were. But I do care about you, and I appreciate that. You're welcome. But also, like
not being able to read my emotions is my defense mechanism.
No shit. All right then. But
you can tell when I am comfortable with somebody because you can read my emotions, and we can read them ever. If you can ever read them, you know I'm comfortable.
That's fair.
If you don't know what I'm thinking, I'm still feeling this situation.
You are like a Sherpa. Sometimes you would be really tough to play poker with because I have a feeling you'd just be like,
oh, hang on.
Mugshot.
Hang on. Get a reaction out of me.
Yeah, not gonna be able to.
Try one.
I can't.
No, that's the dead eyes. I can turn them off. Right. That's my childhood trauma. You're welcome. But one of the reasons why I think metal fans are so passionate is because we are very much informed. We understand that when we see a band at the club down the street, across town, we know that they are not doing this because they're going to make money. I have seen Carcass 2 times. They might have had 3,000 people between those 2 shows. This is motherfucking Carcass. These are the guys that wrote Heartwork. And if you can listen to Heartwork and not go, oh my God, you hate metal. I mean, these guys were on MTV on Beavis and Butthead, and they are one of the founding fathers of a subgenre of metal.
And their comeback record is better than anybody else's death metal record in ages. Still,
heard a couple tracks off that today. Torn Arteries, amazing.
Yeah, the Torn Arteries is good, but I'm still talking about Surgical Steel.
Oh, Surgical Steel,
2014.
Okay, that is like Heartwork minus 0.2.
Yeah, that's fair.
Heartwork is probably my favorite death metal record. And
it's right there. It's right there.
But I don't have it on. When I say I don't have it, I mean I don't have it on vinyl. But
do you know what my favorite death metal record is ever?
Is it Cause of Death?
It is not. That's a good one though.
No, go ahead.
It is Black Seeds of Vengeance by Nile. Followed by Pierce from Within by Suffo. Again, a very close 1-2, and they flip flop every year.
You're gonna, you know what we need to do? We need to do a Suffocation and Revocation.
Ha!
Head to head.
No, that's not fair. And I love Revo. I love Dave. Dave's one of my favorite interviews ever.
I love them because they're so little. They're so little and so big at the same time. And then they play Steinberger guitars, which are tiny little guitars. I mean, I saw them with Cannibal Corpse and Obituary and Cryptopsy. That was a night.
That sounds like I love Cryptopsy, boy. That's a band we also could do a run on, although the
Cryptopsy. You know, Cryptopsy definitely, or we're gonna meander there. I'm gonna go back to the point because I don't think I finished it.
Yeah, make your point, and then we can wrap up.
I think metal fans are exceedingly passionate because we understand that they're not gonna, Metallica, Iron Maiden, to call them anomaly, they're an anomaly of an anomaly. There's never going to be another Metallica. There's nobody going to. I mean, it's like in Shaft when the Coke dealer goes, I go like this, and somebody dies 10 blocks away. That's Metallica, and that is like, it's like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Name another bodybuilder that became a bona fide movie star. No, you can't. There's no others. Name another extreme metal band, because Metallica was an extreme band that made it to not just the top, but the top of everything. So when we fall in love with one of these bands, I mean, we just go to the mat for them. That is why for 10 years, I have done something to push metal. 10 years of my life. And in case you're wondering, I have been paid about $60. And you know what? Totally worth it. I didn't even need the $60, really. Sorry, that just got to thinking.
There you go. Yeah, man. Good times. Do we want to share the next band following our chaser?
Yes, actually, I would like to discuss that a little bit. Before hitting the record button, Keefy and I discussed upcoming series, because as we do, and if you've listened this far, thank you. Comment, like, subscribe, send a handy, Dutch rudders, whatever. Thank you for listening. I appreciate that. But we do a series, we do a chaser. I don't know that we've 100% decided on the chaser. Hoping for live albums, fingers are crossed. All right, so we're gonna do live album chaser. I got a nod. That's contractually obligation. It's the contractual obligation chaser. And then the next series, I'm gonna throw out what was rejected by Mean Mr. Keefy.
Well, we might do them in the future. I don't know if we want to soil ourselves.
I'm not soiling. I'm just saying the ideas I came up with at first were Roger Waters or Dio, and there is no question that we're going to circle back to both of these. But one of the things about this, and what Keefy pointed out was, those are going to be really easy, because that's a lot of nut hugging and dick riding,
High five.
and I am here for all of it. I'm
right through the screen.
Oh yeah, I'm ready for those records. However, we have agreed to, and I have been lording this one over Keefy for the entire run of this show
since we met.
And so our next major series is going to be the greatest band that lived above the whiskey in 1981 for 6 or 7 months.
The only band.
And look, I'm trying to narrow it down.
The band with the biggest dongs in glam rock history.
You know what? I'm going to bring that up here.
The band with the worst singer in glam rock history. The band with their, not just a Netflix movie, but a Hulu miniseries about the dong of the drummer and the trouble it causes.
And that, of course, is Motley Crue.
Voila!
And this will be the last thing I say. I'm going to let Keefy take us home.
Again? I thought it was your turn.
Is it my turn? Okay, this will be the last thing I say, and then Keefy's going to say the last thing, then I'll take us home. Right. Whatever. As long as we get home, everybody's safe, it's fine. My wife was not a big fan of the first episode of the Pam and Tommy series, and I can understand her reasoning. Very logical, very passionate. We are very much involved in women's issues and women's violence issues and domestic violence issues. And there was some questioning, squiffy business. However, I did want to finish it, so she was out of town. So I watched episode 2. And then Tommy is talking to his dick. And his dick is talking back. And I went, you know what? I'm good.
That's when the series got good for me, is that moment.
You know what? Any final thoughts this week? I don't know. That says a lot about you that I don't want to unpack today.
Be a good person. Be good to yourself. Forgive yourself, to quote James Hetfield. And,
agreed.
Forgive yourself. And do a kindness for someone else this week for no reason except that it's cool to do a kindness for someone else.
And you know what? Were you done? I'm sorry.
I am done. Thanks for listening to The Fresh Air on NPR. Fresh Air Metal with Nikki.
In my industry, we weld metal, and I smell it all day. And sometimes I smell it for the rest of the day because it gets stuck in my mucus because I got bad allergies. But I'm just gonna to pad this episode out a little bit. As Keefy said, do something nice for somebody else. I'm gonna piggyback on that and say, do something nice for somebody else. Don't tell them Jesus blessed you. Don't tell them God loves you. Just do something nice for somebody else because they are another human being on this earth, and everyone deserves a kind gesture. And if I could be very serious for a moment, everyone listening, someone on this earth loves you deeply, and that is plenty of reason for you to love yourself.
It's very deep.
Thank you. And with that, it is the Glacier Musical Pouredcast. It does not play in Peoria, home of the President's Cup champions for 2022. We doing this or what? Are we all night?